evening, and thanks for tuning in to Season 2 of Laced Up, a sports show produced entirely by women, from behind the scenes to on air. But it's not just for women, it's for the guys too. I'm Rachel Hallam.
And I'm Sydney Wicker. We have so much to talk about in the next 30 minutes, including a story about a high school softball girl whose game looks, well, a little different. Another week of disrupted picks, plus Angel Cooper joins us again and breaks down Sue Bird's latest comments about the WNBA's lack of support. But Rachel, Jessica Mendoza is breaking barriers once again.
That's right, Sydney. Jessica Mendoza has broken more glass ceilings after she has just been announced as the first female analyst in World Series history. Mendoza has constantly been climbing the ladder of success when it comes to her analyst work. Back in August of 2015, Mendoza became the first female in-game analyst for an MLB game on ESPN. And then in October of the same year, she became the first woman analyst for a national broadcast of a Major League Baseball postseason match. Now, breaking barriers as an analyst isn't Mendoza's only big accomplishment. She has been building a long list of accomplishments well before her time at ESPN. After she graduated from Stanford, Mendoza joined USA's softball team, where she won a gold medal in the 2004 Olympics and a silver in 2008. She has won 2 gold medals at the Pan American Games and was a 3-time International Softball Federation world champion. And in 2018 was inducted to the class of 2019 National Softball Hall of Fame. Now, even with all these accomplishments and obvious knowledge of the sport, Mendoza still receives hate from fans and even others in the same industry for being a woman in a male-dominant field. But that doesn't stop her. And when she sat down with Dan Patrick to discuss what it meant to break yet another barrier, she talked about people she was surprised she impacted, some who she says are just as important as the women and girls she influences.
I think one of the biggest things that I've learned is, yes, the impact on young girls, but really like what I've heard back from just even doing television is dads. Like a lot of fathers that are out there that, you know, they've watched sports and they've got daughters, but they never really made that transition in their mind of like, can my daughter do this? And I've heard from more fathers that were like, when I first heard you, I didn't like it. Like, I was like, what is this?
Well, guys don't want to be told about sports by a woman.
Totally. Like, and we're honest with me. But then they're like, all of a sudden, my little 6-year-old plopped down on the couch next to me and was like, is that a girl, Daddy? Is that a girl? And just active change of like, oh, wait, like this can impact the people that I love and care about. And that to me, like, yes, the girls, the women, of course, that's the obvious. But there's a lot of men out there that I feel like that's just as important too.
And while she breaks one barrier, she isn't afraid to continue to break more and lead the way for women and girls who look to do the same thing.
Rachel, it is so cool to see how dads are really starting to impact girls. I know my dad impacted me in my career in sports. I know your dad did too. My mom gets really jealous when I talk about my dad so much on TV and not her. But it's so cool seeing what Jessica Mendoza has really done in the sports industry. And with her going to the World Series right now, we got the Dodgers in there. Who are you taking on? I know you're a California girl. Are you cheering on the Dodgers?
Oh, absolutely. I got to stick with my hometown. I'm going to stick with the Dodgers. I think they can definitely do it too.
Yeah, I have to cheer for the Dodgers too this time, only because my good friend Jason, I think he needs a win. While baseball is close to wrapping up, college football is now getting started. Well, except for CSU. On Tuesday, the Mountain West canceled CSU's first game of the season against the New Mexico Lobos because of the rise of COVID cases in New Mexico. In today's press conference, new head coach Steve Addazio expressed how ready he is to play their first game.
From a football standpoint, if you said to me, Steve, you guys could play, what's today, Wednesday? You guys could play Friday night. I'd probably say, all right, let's go do it. You know, I mean, I'd rather play. And I know our staff and our team would. Now, there's more to it than that. So we'd have to have deeper conversations. But yesterday, the mindset was when that game was canceled to find another game. That was the mindset.
CSU football may be on hold right now, but some next-level Rams are showing off their skills, especially a couple of hotshot wide receivers in the NFL. Cleveland Browns receiver Rashard Higgins was targeted only twice in their loss against the Pittsburgh Steelers on Sunday, including one that counted for more than anything with his 13-yard touchdown catch from quarterback Baker Mayfield, resulting in their only score on the day. Moving to the Miami Dolphins, wide receiver Preston Williams had 3 targets in their shutout to the New York Jets, including a 3-yard touchdown from starting quarterback Ryan Fitzpatrick. and he had excitement written all over with his end zone celebration. Now, of course, the NFL isn't the only league to find some next-level Rams. Volleyball player Katie Oleksak is already making history on her new Swedish team, Smesh Pfeifen. The 23-year-old setter joined the team back in July, and just recently this month, she and her teammates won the 2020 Super Cup tournament, winning their first title in club history. All in all, CSU Rams continue to prove their place in the sports world.
Well, you could call this next story Fire and Ice. The Cameron Peak fires continue to spread along Colorado's Front Range. One former hockey player is going from being on the ice to being in the fires. Former Colorado Eagles defensiveman Jay Burney is now a member of the Wellington Fire Department and is helping his new team on the front lines. A hockey player who helped the Eagles bring home a President's Cup is now a firefighter. Why? Well, he said for the experience, but also to work hands-on to save his community.
It's not for the faint of heart. It's a lot of hard work. They're spending, 16, 17-hour days using hand tools, digging line, clearing like structure protection. You're clearing all the trees away from structures, so hopefully that fire doesn't get onto that structure.
In the last few moments of Manchester City's win over Arsenal on Saturday, veteran player Sergio Aguero attempted to plead his case to the assistant referee. Usually, this is a normal instance. Every player pleads their case at some point or another. But in Aguero's case, he was seen to have taken it one step too far. Aguero went up to the female assistant referee, Sean Macielis, grabbing her by the base of her neck and pulling her towards him to discuss his outrage over the play call. Macielis flinched quickly and brushed his hand away very suddenly. Now, the incident was brushed over, but went viral instantly and had conflicting responses. Some saying it wasn't a big deal, others saying this should never happen and Aguero should have had some sort of repercussions. But instead, the incident is over and done with, and Sergio will see no consequences.
October is annually known as Breast Cancer Awareness Month, but with COVID-19 impacting sports as much as it already has, what can sports do to support breast cancer awareness? Well, usually they have a pink out game, but this year the NFL with their Crucial Catch Intercept Cancer initiative, which all 32 teams participate in, but this year, according to the NFL, the Crucial Catch initiative will be a part of the league's campaign, It Takes All of Us, which brings everyone together. Unfortunately, the pandemic has taken a hit on cancer screenings, but the NFL is working to restart screenings in communities that need it most. If you'd like to donate to the cause, you can head to cancer.org and search Crucial Catch.
What if you were constantly being looked at differently than the rest of your teammates? Well, high school softball player Devin Priselic knows the struggle, and Sydney Wicker shares her story later in the show. But before we get to that, Angel Cooper joins us next. Angel, what's coming up?
Well, Rachel, the WNBA has developed a reputation worldwide, but not necessarily for the success, and Major League Soccer is trying to figure out a way to create a positive environment to create more equality in race and gender. And CSU is trying to create more awareness about diversity on campus. All that and more coming up next.
Dad?
Just 1 minute, okay?
Hey, Bobo, do trees tell each other stories?
I'm sorry. I'm afraid I don't know that.
Hey, why don't we go find out? Listen.
Do clouds take naps?
I couldn't tell you.
Can birds draw pictures?
I don't have an answer for that.
Dad, do stars visit their friends?
Look!
On Monday, WNBA star Sue Bird explained the inequalities between the WNBA and other women's professional sports. It seems as if women's U.S. soccer stars have more media attention, support, and appreciation than WNBA players. According to point guard Sue Bird, she says, even though we as female athletes playing at high level, our worlds, the soccer world and the basketball world are just totally different. Bird is like LeBron James for women's basketball. 17 seasons in the WNBA and 4 WNBA championships. I mean, that's a huge accomplishment. And not to mention, the WNBA supports social injustice causes like the Black Lives Matter movement. With the WNBA trying to get their attention they deserve, Major League Soccer wants to change the race and gender experience for its players. MLS created an organization called the Black Player Coalition dedicated to fighting racial injustice and changing the way they hire by keeping it diverse. However, all this hasn't been enough because 2 weeks ago, the MLS has released statistics that show about 42% people of color are represented in the MLS league office and administration, and senior administration is 30% men and 23% of women. CSU has been increasing its diversity efforts by adding a Black Lives Matter movement and creating a series for CSU athletes to use their voices. 2 weeks ago, Colorado State University Black Lives Matter movement mural at the Visual Arts Building, Art and Art History, the Black and African American Culture Center, Ethnic Studies, and the College of Liberal Arts came together to create a mural. Additionally, CSU Athletics is giving athletes a platform to speak in a series called Why Won't I Stick to Sports? Some athletes feel they are being told to just stick to just sports at their universities, but at CSU, athletes are valued to be more than just entertainment. Different athletes from different sports here at CSU share their stories on how they are humans before athlete. Yolanda Johnson is one of those athletes, and she wrote a column called I Won't Stick to Sports and said, asking us to stick to sports is asking us to ignore the weights we've been carrying since birth. It is asking us to sweep centuries of anti-blackness under the rug for the sake of entertainment. Being black in America, there is nothing we do without black being put in front of the camera. Such powerful words from Yolanda. I think this is a good step to take for CSU, for the series, and especially for the athletes.
So amazing to hear these athletes speaking out and really using their voices and their platform that CSU is giving them. But coming up next, we've got Disrupted Picks. And Rachel, will college football and the NFL be able to make it the entire season with all these COVID cases we're starting to see pop up? Well, we'll share our thoughts coming up next.
So there you are, shuffling through a stack of resumes and you come to mine. This is it, first impression, my way in. But can my resume show you how I truly stand out? Like that I was studying, going to night school while working 2 jobs just to help my parents pay for groceries. Or being the first one to always step up. No, that's something you just can't put on paper. Look beyond the resume and discover new ways to develop great talent that is dedicated, hardworking, and determined like me.
3, 2, 1. Laced Up! Hello and welcome back to Disrupted Picks. I'm Sydney Wicker, joined by Rachel Hallam and Allie Small. We are here at our at-home studios ready to bring you another week of Disrupted Picks. So let's go ahead and just kick it off, ladies. Will college sports and the NFL make it through the entire season despite all these COVID cases that we're starting to see pop up? Allie, why don't you go ahead and start us off?
Yeah, as for the NFL, I think they will. And, you know, we already see it now. They're trying their hardest too. I saw 2 things. I saw that they're talking about adding an 18th and 19th week. And they are also talking about taking a 2-week break just to relieve COVID stuff, get all the players at their prime, basically. So as for NFL, I feel very confident that they will get to it. They're obviously trying their hardest to do so. As for college, I think the SEC will. I think they definitely will. But I think smaller schools and smaller lower level colleges will probably not. It's not safe at this point. So that's where I stand on that one.
Yeah, I think I have to agree with you. I would love for both to continue, obviously. I mean, they just finally started up again. But with the NFL, I definitely could see that it would be able to. I mean, they have all their technology. They have all the money that they can put into try and figuring out this kind of situation. I mean, they're already doing more with contact tracing and coming up with new systems to find out if people have COVID and protect others from it. And I think that those in the NFL kind of have a more mindset of trying to keep everybody safe. I mean, you look at college students, they're college students, so they're looking to party still. I mean, there's no doubt that they're missing out on that. But I think you're right when it comes to the idea of the bigger schools, bigger divisions with getting through it. If they can figure out how to kind of keep everything together, I think they can do it. But yeah, when it comes to smaller programs, I don't know if they can be able to get through it. I mean, look at CSU. We're already missing one game now because the New Mexico game this weekend had to get canceled for it. So who knows? I think everything's just kind of up in the air.
Absolutely. I agree with both of you here. I think it's going to be so hard if we truly see sports continue throughout the entire year, but I do think it's possible. We just have to be careful. I think the biggest thing, though, people have to be worried about the heart conditions that can affect athletes that some of the doctors have really started researching. I know that's the Big Ten's biggest reason they were really hesitant about starting a football season. So for college sports, I'm hoping that we can see a full season, but CSU, it was announced yesterday, they're already missing their first weekend of kickoff. So for that to already be in effect and their season hasn't even started in the Mountain West, that's a little bit concerning. But for those bigger schools like the SEC, I have no idea, first of all, how they're having so many fans in the stands at their games. They are going to have to be really careful with that because that is giving exposure to the players and the coaches, even if they are so far away. That many people there and then going to class with some of those people, you have to be careful and very on edge about how that goes down. But the NFL, you know, I think they can make it through, but I think they should start looking for like a bubble-like structure like the NBA did. They made it through without any cases at all, and the NFL has already seen so many people come up. Cam Newton, perfect example. Their quarterback, he had to sit out, and now he's back playing. I'm not even sure if that's safe for him or not, but just seeing how many players are already testing positive, I think the NFL is going to have to start looking at maybe another option if they want to finish the entire season.
Yeah, I think the only thing that's like a little sketchy about that and a little worrisome is the idea that there's so many people when it comes to a specific, like one team. You already have so many people you have to take care of. So a bubble would be a little difficult. But I mean, they've talked about doing like preseason or postseason bubble. So for playoffs, I think maybe that would work. You have less people to worry about, but a bubble would probably be a good idea.
Yeah, I agree with you, Rachel. I think for the postseason, that's ideal, and I think they should really talk about doing that. It's just, you know, before that, with all the numbers of players, coaches, etc., it's just at that point, where do they go? You also have to think about that. Where are they going to put them? What are they going to do? So yeah, I agree. Postseason would be a great idea. I just don't know about right now.
Great. Rachel, why don't you go ahead and start us off with our second question?
All right. Well, a few days ago, well-known commentators Joe Buck and Troy Aikman didn't realize they were on a hot mic when they started talking about this. But basically, they were trashing the idea of still having flyovers during games when there's either little fans in the stands or even nobody in the stands. So what do you guys think? Do we think that they should continue with flyovers during games?
In my opinion, who cares? If that's what gets the team fired up and they're excited when a flyover goes over, who cares? If it's wasting a little bit of gas but they're getting pumped up, these players have waited so freaking long for their season to happen. They had no idea if it even would. So now that they got their season, why not? If they want a flyover, let it happen, especially those military schools. That is so rich in their history, and that is a part of their game day experience. If they want to have a flyover, let them have a flyover, even if there's no fans there. But that's just my opinion.
Yeah, I see both sides. I agree. Who cares if it pumps the players up, if it gets them going? It's like what they look forward to for as a pregame, get like all excited for. Yeah, do it. But I also do see the other side where there are no fans. It is a lot of money. I read somewhere that it costs nearly like $60,000 an hour for a flyover. And that is a lot of money, and they're not getting fans. They're not getting that revenue in. So if you do have to take a risk, take it. That's totally fine. So yeah, it's kind of, who knows? Like, I think I'm on both ends of the spectrum. I say don't care, and I'm also like, I can see where you're coming from.
Yeah, I could see both too. I do think that like just let them play. If they want to have it, that's great. But yeah, the money definitely I could see being a big impact on that decision. The only thing is the NFL already has so much money. They could easily be paying for this kind of stuff. But when, Sid, you talk about like schools with like Air Force and military schools, like that kind of thing, that's different because they don't really necessarily might not have that much money. I mean, $60,000 an hour, that's crazy. That's so much money for just one little flyover over a game. But yeah, I get it. It's a tradition. I understand that, like, that's what you want to see in the beginning of a game. And yeah, you might not have fans, so maybe this is the time to cling on to something else that gets you fired up, and maybe the flyovers are that.
Absolutely. Well, guys, I think we're kind of all in agreement here, but also some disagreements. I know, Allie, you bring up some really great points there. We'll have to see if they continue. Joe Buck, Troy Aikman, maybe they made a case for the NFL and for college sports. Maybe they'll stop it overall. I guess we'll have to see. But that's all for Disruptive Picks. We'll be back after the break.
Awkward. I'm the awkward silence. You try to avoid me, then there I am again.
But an awkward silence can be a great thing.
Like Kelly here is about to demonstrate.
You haven't really been yourself lately. Are you okay?
Find out how you can help a friend with their mental health at seizetheawkward.org.
Well, there are a ton of challenges that come from being a high school girl. But what if you stood out every day amongst your peers? Fort Collins High School junior softball and track athlete Devin Perselic is the standout for the Lambkins, and she's not letting what may seem like the impossible stop her from anything. For some, high school naturally comes with insecurity and doubts. But at Fort Collins High School, there is one athlete that has to overcome more than her share of that, standing out for the wrong reasons.
Just looking at other girls wanting to be able to be like, or like when someone's looking at me, I think, oh, they're looking at me because maybe I'm pretty, or, whoa, I'm a good ball player, but no, they're looking at me because of my arm.
Junior softball player Devin Perselic was born without her right hand. The umbilical cord got caught around Devin's arm and cut off the blood supply. But after years of trying to get pregnant, Devin's mom, Michelle, knew that nothing, including a disability, would change how blessed she felt.
They didn't know what her condition would be. And immediately kind of during that ultrasound, I was kind of devastated and distraught. And I remember calling my mother, who lived in Mississippi, and she had the whole state of Mississippi praying because we just didn't know. We didn't know what the outcome was going to be.
Trying to figure out how to raise her little girl to give her the confidence that she would need in a not-so-nice world was worrisome. Until the stars aligned and a movie about a fish with a small fin came to light.
Finding Nemo came out, and my sister calls me up and says, oh my gosh, you got to watch this movie. And I said, why is that? She goes, it reminds me of your baby. It has one little fin, and I think it's like your little baby. And I was like, okay. So I watched that, and that was, I cried and I laughed, and I thought that was cute. And then at that same time, Bethany Hamilton was attacked by the shark in 2004 and lost her limb, and that made big news. I found out that she came out to Colorado and learned how to snowboard shortly after that, and I was like, man, this girl's awesome. She was kind of like my inspiration to set this up, and I'm like, all right, before she's born, I'm going to set it up that no's not in her vocabulary.
So when I say, oh, I can't do this, I'm one-handed, she's like, nope. She'll be like, you're grounded, and I'll be like, oh.
Bethany Hamilton became Devin's role model. She got the chance to meet Hamilton at Hamilton's Beautifully Flawed camp in California, which hosts amputees from all over the world. Finally, Devin got to meet someone who looked just like her.
In Fort Collins, you could be like, oh, the girl with one arm, it's not like, which one? It's like Devin, So going there, it was just crazy mind-blowing because I got there, and there were so many girls like me, but they were all different. Like, amputees can be amputated from, shoulders, below the elbow, above the elbow, legs. It was really like eye-opening, because I watched all the girls and they were just so happy with their lives, and it kind of gave me the thought that I can be like that, I can move on, and I can have a life, normal life.
Part of Devon's normal life used to be cheerleading. Yes, she was doing one-handed cartwheels and all, but it wasn't enough. Devon knew if Hamilton could surf with one arm, she could play competitive sports, including track and softball. Being different makes her unique, but all in all, she's just loved by her team.
I just think it's her attitude, you know. Plus, she's such a nice girl, you know. She's always giggling, and one thing, she's left-handed, right? So during pictures, she did it right-handed. And I said, Devon, why'd you do it right-handed? She goes, because I don't want him to see my arm. And I said, oh, okay, that's cool. So then after the lady left that was taking pictures, I said, no, next time take it left, because we're proud of you that way.
You never know what people are going to think, and you never know if coaches are going to be like, oh, she's kind of high risk, I don't know about that. So it's very heartwarming to be like, I can put you in and I can trust you. So
Devon knows what it's like to work hard and to overcome obstacles in life. Like a surfer with one arm and a fish with a small fin, the power to cross whatever challenges come her way doesn't live in her limbs, but in her heart.
Well, Sydney, this is just a great story of strength and perseverance of an athlete in her specific sport. And it just makes me think of Shaquem Griffin, the NFL player for the Seattle Seahawks. I mean, he had to overcome a huge disability too. Same thing with her, a missing arm. So it's great to see these kinds of stories.
Absolutely. It's funny that you mention him, because her coach jokes about her and calls her Abbott sometimes, like Jim Abbott, the baseball player. So it's really funny to see that they kind of had a good relationship and that great dynamic. But for me, it was so cool to see that she actually got to meet Bethany Hamilton. And for the first time in her life, she got to be surrounded by so many girls that look just like her. I know that's such a key thing for us at Laced Up. We get to work with women. That's not something we usually get to do in sports.
Absolutely. And I think the craziest part of that whole thing was that insane coincidence of Bethany Hamilton losing her arm in 2004, and she was born in 2004. I mean, it's just insane, mind-blowing.
It really is, but such a cool story, and like you said, perseverance, that is Devon's keyword.
Absolutely. Well, Rams, that is all we have time for tonight. Thank you for being a part of our show and helping us make history and continuing to break barriers. We'll be back on November 18th for our next show. Until then, stay updated on all sports and all things Laced Up by following us on Instagram at Laced Up TV. I'm Rachel Hallam.
And I'm Sydney Wicker. Tune back in tomorrow for more news from the people you know, and to see Brendan Fairbairn with his newest edition of Contender or Pretender. What are the Seahawks' chances of winning their second Super Bowl in franchise history? Well, he'll give you his thoughts on Thursday. Until then, keep changing the game and have a great night, Rams.